All right. Why, you ask? Why? That was kind of weird. Why am I up on some... so why, right? You know how many times I have read a post on Facebook or whatever, anything? How many times I have read people ask, why did he do that? Why did she do that? What's going on? I can't imagine what the hell's happening. What were they thinking? Why in the world did somebody do that stupid of a thing? Do you want to know the answer? It's going to totally blow you out of the water. Sadly, it's because they're getting reinforced for it. And I'm getting ahead of myself and behind myself all at the same time. So bear with me as I try to do one of my other fancy discussions on this whole topic. So why, you ask? It's really simple. Because it works. All right? That's why. People do stuff because it works. And I don't just mean using a scraper or this bit or that bit. That's a nice bit. Anyway, so this bit or that bit or whatever the heck it is, I don't mean that stuff. That's not kind of working I'm talking about because it works. I'm talking about because it gets them something. It may not get them money, right? But maybe it does. It may not get them fame. It may not even get a laugh, right? But it may get them something, and we call those somethings reinforcers. Now, there's a whole bunch of them, and they're different for every single person. But there's a couple of things that you need to know about the function of behavior. So let's back this up. We already know about the three-term contingency, the antecedents, the behaviors, the consequences, right? So we're going to focus today on consequences. We're only going to focus on one type. We're going to focus on reinforcers. Now, reinforcers are a function. People get stuff for the function of reinforcement, right? There's lots of different types of reinforcement. You'll see that down here and more stuff later. But what we need you to think about at all times is this. The definition of reinforcement is the contingent application or removal of a stimulus. So you have to engage in a behavior before you add or remove something, right, as a consequence, that results in the increased probability of that behavior happening in the future. So let me break this down to make it a little bit more palatable and a little bit less technical. Reinforcement, if you engage in a behavior, then I give you something or take something away that increases that behavior happening, okay, the probability of that behavior, then you have reinforcement. Now, you have to remember this. Reinforcement affects the future. It does not affect today. Punishment, same thing. The consequences to behavior don't affect behavior right now. They affect behavior in the future. So, I mean, even out here, being out here in the shop, I get the ability to do some stuff that I haven't been engaging in, behaviors that I haven't been engaging in lately. In other words, I'm doing the stuff that my wife asked me to get done, which is cool, right? So with any luck, I'll get this stuff done, and she'll reinforce me for it, and I'll get to spend some more time in the shop. Why? Because probably fixing stuff that she wants me to fix, which is cool because I like fixing stuff. So anyway, so why do people do stuff? Because there's a reason. There's a function for it. And there's a reason that it works, right? And they get something out of it. We already know that. We've already covered that. But here's where it gets really weird. You don't have to like it. You don't have to enjoy your reinforcer for it to be a reinforcer. How many of you go to work and hate your flipping jobs? Can't stand it? Hate it? Then why the hell do you go to work? Quit! No, you're not going to, right? Why? Because you need the money? You need to feed your family? You need to take care of yourself? You need some beer money? You need some toy? Whoa! You need some toy money? All right? Guess what? Money's a reinforcer. Helping people. We talk a lot about helping people. Doing good well, right? So helping people, well, what's the reinforcer for that? You don't get it. Yes, you do. I'll bet you feel damn good about yourself. In fact, there's an interesting set of studies that talk about money can't buy you happiness, right? That's kind of like money can't buy you love. It can buy you sex and all sorts of other stuff. But some people say, well, it can't buy you happiness. Science says otherwise. Money can actually buy you happiness, but it's a real trick. You have to spend it on other people for you to get happier. Wait a minute. So if I spend money on somebody else, I go buy them a set of tires, whatever. Maybe it's just buy them a cup of coffee. I'll feel better about myself? Yes, you will. That feeling better about yourself might be a reinforcer. Because if that behavior increases in the future, helping others, buying other people other things, then that behavior, or then the consequence of feeling good, is probably a reinforcer. So anyway, the point is that if you dig deep enough about any behavior that's going on, boy, they're an idiot. I can't believe they kept doing it. What is the function for the behavior? boy, they're an idiot. They keep doing this at the hardest. Man, they do it in the really hard way. Or they could do that a lot easier. So teach them. People will do stuff because they get stuff. Now, I also want you to understand something. We, the human, as an organism, we're part of the animal kingdom, right? What I'm talking about here isn't just for people. It's for everything. Any voluntary behavior, any choice behavior, whatever you're talking about, this applies. The dog barking, the dog jumping up on you, the dog peeing in the corner instead of outside, the kid screaming at you when you don't want them to, the kid throwing tantrums, the kid giving you the middle finger when you ask them to do their chores. There's a function for all of it. So if you want to change people, if you want to change things, tell you what, you need to go looking for functions. And the first function you should look for is what is maintaining the behavior. What's keeping it going? In other words, what's reinforcing it? Right? If you can figure out what's reinforcing a behavior, then you're working on that. Oh yeah, that's right. Let's get the word back. So if you can figure out what's reinforcing a behavior, right? So we've got the antecedent. So in a consequent, so in a context, we have our antecedents, we have our behavior. So, and then we have a consequence. Right? So this is C. It doesn't quite show up great on the board, but whatever. So we have our antecedent, our behavior, our consequence. So if let's play around with the kiddo. Kiddo's throwing a huge tantrum, right? They're screaming. You ask them to do chores. So do chores. Right? So you ask them to do chores, right? Then the kid screams, let's go tantrum. All right? So the kid throws a tantrum, and then eventually, the tantrum keeps going, and guess what happens? Maybe you give in, and you go, whatever, I just can't deal with all this crap. I've had enough. So the kid gets to escape. My handwriting sucks. I apologize. But the kid escapes the chore, right? So you asked to do the chore. The kid engaged in a tantrum, and that tantrum continued, and it continued so long that the kid got to escape the chore. That's a reinforcer. Reinforcers don't have to be things you like either. They can be things that you don't like. It's just the effect that it has. That's all a reinforcer is talking about. Does it, when applied, increase a behavior? Or does it, when removed, increase behavior? There's two different types of reinforcement, negative and positive. Okay? So escaping, that's a negative reinforcer. Negative doesn't mean good or bad. Getting something, that's a positive reinforcer. Here's $5. That's hopefully a positively reinforcing thing, right? So adding something positive, taking something away negative, reinforcers always, always, always increase the behavior. So if you have a behavior happening, I guarantee you it's being reinforced in some way, shape, or form. Get out there, find the function, fix the damn thing. All right? So just like erasing my whiteboard, there's a function to it. In fact, it's negatively reinforcing. Why? Because all those stimuli that were on there are going away. The letters are disappearing. And some of you go, well, where's your bench dogs, man? I'm like, I don't have them installed yet. Give me a break, all right? Barely even have a shop. All right, so anyway, there you go. Negatively reinforced. So we've talked about that before. So the whiteboard, all right, giving it to you again with the antecedents, the behaviors, the consequences, the three-term contingency, and don't forget, the real strength of everything is at that consequence spot. That's your power. That's what keeps behavior going, and that's what reduces behavior too when we get into the punishment stuff. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. Talk to you soon.